Broadcasting live from the Berkshire Bank Saratoga Pavilion at Saratoga Racecourse, it's Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team.
Now we're at the Berkshire Bank Pavilion, and every Friday joined by Paul Loduca from Now Naira, and we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he'll be on with us every Friday morning right here in this spot on Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Paul, good to see you in person, man.
Good to see you, too, as well. I mean, Thanks. A good crowd already out here, as it usually is. And
we're back with Paul Loduca. Paul, what's your thoughts on the opening day card? I know you're going through, you're taking a peek here. I know we got the couple of features today. Schuylerville for the 2-year-old fillies, and then the Grade 3 Lake George Stakes.
Schuylerville today, Stainless on the outside. Todd Pletcher going to look for his 8th and try to succeed his boss, his old boss, and Dwayne Lucas. It's crazy. He's to 8 stakes wins in one race. To be honest, I don't like the filly on the outside. Todd, to me, not as loaded with his 2-year-olds maybe early. I think you're going to start seeing a couple here and there. I think race number 5, Honeyglow, might be tough. Another horse called All Systems Go, I heard can run a little bit. Listen, you have to discern whether the horses down in Gulfstream Park are good enough to come down here. I thought the Maryland horse was live in there. The horse from Philly was live Parks. And then there's a horse obviously coming from Canada. He gets the outside draw. I think she's the one that they're going to bet, but I think she might get overbet. I think you can beat her today.
How about Lake George? I mean, Chad Brown is our guy, the Mechanicville trainer, and you know how he's just been winning at a great one at Belmont, won here last year. Finally took down Todd Pletcher, and I'm sure will win his fair share of races again this summer. Yeah,
he really didn't take down Todd. He beat him down a little bit. He had 40 wins to 31. He beat him by about 9, and about 4-point-some-odd millions in earnings. And here, when it comes to the turf racing here, you got to be a little bit lucky. It's a little bit different than Belmont because you get a little bit tougher trips here. The turns are a little bit tighter. You get the sweeping turns at Belmont, 2 different turf courses. Outside slots, very tough to win from here. Speed a little bit better, but Chad just adapts. I mean, you go look down the shed row of his horses, it's pretty crazy. And the other part about it is Todd and him are separated by about 200 feet, their barns. So you got the 2 best trainers at 70-some-odd wins last year. But I think it's going to be competitive because Todd will probably have his 2-year-olds. But like you said, Chad just dominates these turf races. He sends 2 or 3 out, and he has a couple live today.
Paul, you mentioned it, breaking down the Schuylerville. When we caught up with Todd Pletcher earlier in the week, he said to us I don't know what I have in my 2-year-olds. And it's always kind of just a foregone conclusion. Saratoga, Todd's 2-year-olds are going to dominate. Mm-hmm. When will you expect Todd and maybe everybody else to kind of realize what he has in this 2-year-old group? That's
a good question. I think he somewhat knows some of his horses. They might not start now. If you ever look at Todd's horses, his better ones usually start maybe second, third week of this meet. They don't really start already or started at Gulfstream. This horse started on the 29th. This filly did on May. But he's so darn good. When he comes back to New York, he's even better. So I know that Andy likes this horse a little bit, and we're sort of butting heads on the horse. And I like the Clement runner best performance, but if you go back and you look at her last race, she was set up pretty nicely. 2-year-olds don't really like to run by each other, but I thought she got a little bit of a lesson. And, 2 races, big advantage on the 1 race horses. And Buy, Sell, Hold probably will not be your 3-1 favorite in that race. I think she'll actually come up from that morning line.
You do know your horse racing, don't you? Oh, my goodness. I thought you were just a baseball player.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have to study books about hitters, too. You end up studying this stuff, too.
Do you like Chad Brown tomorrow with Lady Eli in the Diana?
That's a good question. I don't know if she is the same filly. Great story, obviously. When she came out to California, the Richard Baltus filly, Good Year for Roses, gave her all she could handle, and it looked a little bit like Lady Eli was getting tired a tiny bit. Now she gets Dickinson, who beat her already. Antono's going to be a horse that everybody loves, which was Giant on Belmont Day. Cadera's another. It's a small field, but she's facing 3 pretty good fillies and mares. I think I'm going to try to beat her. I really do. I know she's a fan favorite, but those are the kind of horses you got to try to beat if you need to make some money. But I think she's beatable tomorrow.
A couple of baseball questions. Okay. Are the Mets definitely sellers at the trading deadline?
Well, I think you have to be at this point. And so you can get their wishes are 5 pitchers they're going to be healthy. They need to get 3. That's half the problem. When you have 7 guys coming into the year and all 7 guys had previous injuries, I think it was a little bit of wishing that they were going to have all 5 guys. And then, you know, you lose Familia and you forget about, okay, there goes your bullpen. Addison Reed's been great. So you do look at Jay Bruce, you do look at Addison Reed. They're probably the 2 best pieces where they're affordable for other teams. And Bruce is a left-handed bat that had to adjust to a different stadium. So, and Addison Reed's been phenomenal. My worry about Addison is he's just been a workhorse. They've thrown him out there for the last 3 years. But I think he's going to be a great setup guy for somebody. And so those are 2 trade pieces. And then the shortstop they have in the minor leagues is the real deal at 21. And I think
about time to bring him up.
Time to bring him up. You know, these times, you know, to me, Conforto had 3 years at Oregon State, waited too long. And we're at a point now where you don't see the 38, 39-year-old, 40-year-old guys. So why are we waiting on Conforto to play every day anyway? He already got that knowledge at Oregon State. So now this kid's 21, and let's throw him to the Wolves. Now, yeah, throw him to the Wolves. Sometimes it's good to fail. But you got to let him fail first and let him go. But I think he's going to be a good player.
How much, Paul, goes into this from a player's perspective? You probably know plenty about this. Teams are cautious about bringing guys up, maybe not because they aren't ready, but because they don't want to start the major league clock on a lot of these guys.
True. You run out of options. There's certain things. If people don't know out there, you get 3 options where you can get sent up or down. Now, if you get sent up or down 6 times in 1 year, it only counts as 1 option. So you make a great point that they can do that.
Arbitration
becomes different and obviously becomes a free agent a lot earlier. But they also can play 3-4 years and then get sent down. It's crazy. But we live in a world now, and I think the Mets live in a world now where they play in a defensive stadium. You want to build around pitching. This kid's supposed to be a dynamic shortstop. Let's bring him up and go from there. In the face of the franchise, still to this day, is David Wright, and he has been a non-factor the last 3 years.
You just wonder if he's ever going to play again?
It worries me. You know, we're such good friends. We've texted each other back and forth, and you just stay away from the situation. I don't want to talk about it with him, and you say prayers, and hopefully he can get back on the field. Is 80% of David Wright going to be good enough? I think it will. I mean, I saw the kid play at 100%, and he was on his way to Cooperstown, and it's just it's sad to see, and hopefully he can get back on the field at some capacity.
You guys have become really good friends over the years, huh? Yankees made a nice move with the White Sox, strengthened their bullpen. Paul, do you see them doing anything at the trading deadline here, maybe to get a starting pitcher?
Yeah, I think they got to get a starting pitcher. They're going to score runs. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And now Betances went through his little rut. He's out of it. I think this helps Clippard, too. I think a lot of people forget about Tyler Clippard. He went through a little bad stretch where he gave up like 9 runs in like 3 or 4 games, but he had like a 2.2. So now you have Clippard, Robertson, Betances, Chapman. I mean, you don't really need much on the front end. So now you got another right-handed power bat with Frazier to go along with Sanchez, and then the big guy in right field. So they're going to score runs. You're right. Can CeCe get some of that playoff magic or get them to that playoff magic? The other kid's been throwing well, Tanaka. He needs to get back on track. He's been throwing okay. He's been inconsistent. Severino's been the best. I mean, he's been their best pitcher by far. So you make a great point there. If they can go get a Quintana, who ends up the Cubs would have been a perfect guy for them, a guy that can give them innings, guy that can just be a little bit more durable. That's what they need more than anything because, like I said, they're going to score runs.
Paul, always a pleasure, man.
I was going to bring up Braves-Dodgers last night, but seeing as how one team's going to go to the playoffs and mine is not.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. If the Dodgers get Zach Britton, wow. Watch out.
And
that's going to be scary.
Yu Darvish, too. I mean, they're going for it, right?
Here's my point about who Yu Darvish, and this will be my last. Yu Darvish reminds me, besides his no-hitters, he reminds me a little bit of Matt Harvey. You know, Matt Harvey, all they do is they talk about this guy, that. His lifetime record is 33-31. Turn the page.
Interesting.
Paul, thanks.
Cool.
We'll see you rooftop at Saratoga, and have a great show with Saratoga Live.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's Paul Loduca every Friday here on Big Board Sports.